We're not live. We're not live. I should have any sort of setup screen, but I don't because I'm working on it actively. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the no one that's here yet. Ooh, hey, if you're watching the VOD, guess what? You're special and we love you. Okay, let me go tell the homies.
So while you've been waiting for us to stream again, we've done a little bit of grinding.
That's true.
We have been grinding for ores and dirt and stone, and we fought the wyvern a couple times, but that's about all you've missed. So for game's sake, I will go and die to the wyvern a few times for you people.
Oh, you don't have to die to the wyvern.
Well, I need harpy feathers.
Oh. You know, most people would just pluck those off their mother-in-law.
You think my mother is a harpy?
It's
More of a demon.
yeah, that's the problem. We only get demon feathers off your mom, and my mom being what, angel to a fault.
Ugh.
Okay, I am prompting the world to come watch us make out. I mean, play Terraria.
Oh, I got the giant harpy feather. Ha!
Wow, that was fast. Yeah.
I get wings. You don't get wings.
Wow. That's kind of rude.
Did I ever say that I wasn't rude?
No, you really didn't.
I'm a bitch.
So, let's see. No one's here yet. It's just us.
Nobody wants to be balanced.
It is Valentine's Day, but you know what? It's about us because it's our anniversary and our date. So, meh. They don't have to like what I'm doing. They don't have to be
14
here.
years, y'all. 14 years.
She's put up with my shit for such a long time.
Yeah, even though she didn't give me any anniversary presents.
With all that money I don't have. I was thinking of...
I made them.
I know you made away. I also brought in money. Where'd all that go? I bet I could guess.
Look,
Uh-huh.
we gotta eat.
We do gotta eat. Happy
Bought
Valentine's Day.
groceries.
Happy Valentine's
We
Day.
had to get certain items from the store that I will not talk about on stream.
Uh-huh. You're
Like
welcome.
Toilet paper.
You're welcome. Don't do that.
Love it.
I'm helping. Where'd all my wood go? I had a huge pile of wood. I got Dynasty. Whatever. She be chopping. We'll get wood with time. We'll get wood with time. It's fine. Entertainment. Can't imagine why more people aren't here. Oh, it's
Boring. You expect.
It's raining death! I was minding my own business over here. A bunch of, like, harpy feathers came shooting down out of the sky. I'm like, okay. I might have to chop some trees down. I think she took the wood.
Oh, not the wood.
Well, then I used a lot more wood than I thought I did down there. Or I've misplaced the wood. But that's fine. You know, we're really only after one or two
She
steps.
sold somewhere, and I don't know.
Oh.
Nuts.
They're not here. I'm helping. Where's my acorns? There we go.
Oh, I landed on clouds. I'm so smart. Ha ha ha. I didn't die.
You're so smart. Ha ha ha. You didn't die. I love you, baby.
What?
Nothing, I just love
Are
you.
you judging me?
No, I just think you're a silly, silly goober, and I love you so much. Because I say so.
I said it was gooberish.
Oh, everything all the time.
Nuts. Damn it.
We're both silly, silly goobers. Okay. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Our house is gonna get bigger. I'm gonna expand it. It's gonna be great. Oh, big fucking meanie face. You heard it. Ooh. Something just fell from the sky.
I wish the souls of flight would fall instead of hanging in the air.
I mean, if anything's gonna hang in the air, I feel like it would be the soul of flight. Oh, it's raining. Did you get Sky Fury or something?
It rains stars when I get damaged.
Oh, you got
I'm
the
gonna
cloak.
die.
Oh! On my roof?
Yep.
Ow! What?
I want my money.
I'm not going up there, and I donate money to you all the time.
Well, good, because I gave you all of my money at the beginning of the playthrough.
I know you did, and I take care of you, baby. The best way that I know how.
I'm gonna make some weed.
Some wings. You just ate. Liz just said I have to stay inside. Okay.
Do wings and flour and bottle combine?
No. Unless they changed it. Alright, for 5 minutes I have to stay inside. Hopefully no bosses spawn at sunset. Oh, I don't have my... Alright, we're gonna get creative with that. That's fine. Do I have... I don't. I do not, madam. Go.
Oh, I got a chicken nugget!
Yummy!
You just ate.
I didn't say I wanted to eat it.
Chicken wings do not sound good.
Right now, you wanna know what sounds good? Chocolate.
Have some Reese's.
It's true, I do have Reese's. I always said Reese's. Hi. I'm expanding our little base house. Try to make room for a good crafting center. And or storage. I don't know exactly how I want to go about that presently, and I'm restricted to staying indoors as much as I can. So, am I really like too shy? That
Oh,
is.
I have the wood.
I asked. I asked if you did.
There you go.
You brat.
Rat.
Hi, Solar. Sorry, I was looking at the timer instead of actually this. Okay.
I just got my wings. You don't have no wings.
I just got a devious idea for our little aquarium.
Look.
I see. I see your wings, you special girl.
I
Ah!
love them.
I was almost exposed to
The outside.
the sun. The sun. Miss Carter, the sun. Should I just get rid of this floor?
Hey,
Yeah.
I love you.
I love you too.
I gave you a present.
Thank you.
A chicken nugget.
If we could do shelving floors and use that for crafting stations, and that should work pretty well, right?
I was going to make that. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah! What? Synergy.
What?
What?
I thought we were gonna build a new house.
I'm expanding this one for now, and then you were going to rework that house. This is supposed to be our house. I'm making our house better, and you're making the NPC house less of a dog shit festival. I think that's what you were going. Hi, Bird. You were saying something about blowing it up, I think.
Yep, that's what I'm doing.
I told her she's Donald Trumping it. She's just going to destroy the East Wing. Do with that what you will. Here and here.
Okay.
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 How are Bird and Solar tonight?
How are bullet?
How are your boyfriend and your girlfriend doing?
Girlfriends and my boy.
I was going to say, they're both plural, so if you're going to say boyfriends and girlfriend.
I said boyfriends and girlfriends.
Boyfriends and girlfriends. Yeah, this'll work. I had to clean up a flooded bathroom tonight, is Liz's input on the moment. Yeah, fuck that.
That's okay. Zone's excuse for not wanting to play earlier.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
I'm gonna die.
We need
Clogged
a chair next to that. He gave up everything for the night because of having to plunge
the toilet.
a toilet. I'm gonna reorganize this slightly, but I got you. No, I'm just I have an order. I'm crazy. That's weak shit. And as ever, he's a weak sauce bitch.
Hey.
What? You gonna argue? You gonna argue he's not a weak sauce
Be
bitch?
nice.
I am being nice. I'm just saying.
You have a right to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is that?
I'm not gonna talk about that.
Oh,
you can leave.
is that?
Now.
Is it because of the thing?
Shush.
The thing? Yes. Okay.
Shut up.
I know why. I know I have a right to be mean. Okay. Agreed. I love you. Agreed. Still, I'm out of the timer now, but I am something resembling indoors, so you can't be mad at me either way. So I did put some minor limits on that. I think it's any given person can only make one request every 10 minutes or 15 minutes or something. And I did set it so you can only do one raid guidance per stream, because I don't think I can raid more than one at a time. So, moot point. But I did play with those. I played with some of the settings down there. So I got rid of the game-specific ones, like choosing a map for Phasmo, or the, what was the other one? Shit. I mean, I do have someone to play Phasmo with. She's just at work when I'm playing, and I've been playing Terraria with you. I can play Phasmo with Lizzie, if she can get to her computer. If Mason will let her get to her computer. And... yeah, like, yes, Pig Boy is Prison Boy, but I do have Phasmo options. It is a mild shame that Pig Boy is Prison Boy right now, if only because there are finally cosmetics that I think are fun in Deep Rock Galactic, but hey, what you gonna do? What's you gonna do? Does this look like a decent storage area for now, dear? 2 floors under our crafting, so it's close to our crafting, so we can access it from the nearby chests. Such a nice thing. Thank you for that thing, game. Yes. Since I can actually leave the house now, I can go get the materials I need for other things, like the extended walls and whatnot. Yay, office walls, all that. Like, I have like 3 different materials I made those walls out of, so... I don't know if any of them are available. I'll take that. I'll take that. It's cloud wall, gray brick. I mean, can you make wall? No, you can't make walls out of rain cloud. It can only be cloud. You can paint cloud, though. A Sky Mill. I wonder how we get a Sky Mill on zone. Does the wizard sell anything up? Hello.
I'm working on it.
I know.
We are revamping and updating.
Ice Rod. Crystal Ball. I need a crystal ball, so I bought one. Gotta have the crystal ball, you know. Put it up here. Fuck yeah, I can. Awesome. Okay, we're getting somewhere with this. Why are you making that specific noise? I guess nothing. I just don't know why. Okay. Girl, I'm not here to judge. I was just curious. Man, it's a lot of stars tonight.
Aren't you?
Really? Well, then God either loves or very specifically hates me. Oh, okay. My father never loved me.
Gotta do the ugly cry.
Yeah. That's the best Fernando line.
I wasn't.
Hmm?
I don't know anything about Fernando besides the fact that he's fuck out.
He's supposed to. If you're not at least a little disturbed by Fernando, then I don't know, yikes. Uh-oh, red flag. Got nothing on that. Love is largest brontosaurus, passion like a bleeding walrus. Our love is real, it's no mirage. Want to lock you in my garage. Oh, barefooted great Koto. That's a dumb name. That's not a good bot name. They should bot better. Well, they probably came in here talking about, well, she said Bad Robot Rocket Launcher, but they also came in here talking about Streamboo.com or some shit. I didn't even see it. I'm in my own little world building things as the good Lord intended of me. I'm making room for boxes, making room for boxes, making room for so many boxes. Oh no. Oh no. I need to be like one floor deeper.
Gotta go deeper.
Be deeper.
Gotta go.
That's what she said. Inadequate. You must go deeper. Okay, I'm trying, baby. Can you imagine being with someone that talks like that in bed? Inadequate.
Inadequate. Give it to me harder.
Your sense of pleasure is lacking. I must teach you otherwise. What? Give it to me, baby. I do think you're funny. I also think you're adorable. I also think you're the best person in the whole wide world, and I want to kiss you on the mouth. Next question. You're right. Mecha Lekka Hi, Mecha Liney Hiney Ho. There. That is 4 rows of chests that we can put in where all of our chest needs. And a spot where we can put glass like we're looking at the fish outside. Yes. We'll go gather stars because there's just a crap ton of them. Dead mummy, dead mummy. Did they drop something? Like shards or something?
Fragment.
Evil slime, dead slime, dead slime, dead slime, dead slime, evil slime, dead slime, dead slime, dead slime, dead slime. The kingdom for a dash. Oh my gosh, okay. That's like the exclusive reason I prefer expert or master or whatever. The inclusion of my beloved shield. Shield of Cthulhu, my beloved. Nice. That's a nice thing to just casually find. Star must have bonked him.
Must have bonked him.
Mama called the doctor, and the doctor said, "No more monkeys." Saw one earlier.
Ah!
Monkeys stronger together. What?
Raleigh, the traveling merchant.
Wow. Usually he's cutting my hair. Raleigh was the barber I had as a kid.
He has devil horns, pretty pink ribbon, pretty pink dress, pretty pink stockings, PS meter, extendo grip,
Ooh.
stopwatch,
Extendo grip if we don't have one, or even if we do, it's part of the better building
Lightform
set.
analyzer, fire starter.
Can't believe you can start a fire like that, baby. A little bit of a pyro.
Seen me with a lighter?
No, I haven't actually. Well, I have. It's been a while though. Back when you smoked.
Oh,
Well, of course you have problems, honey. You're a little goth girl. Huh? Does this look like a more adequate space for our crafting needs at the moment?
wait.
Does a Hellforge replace a normal
I made
forge? Made what for me?
No.
Ultra bright. Oh, nice. The darkness holds no secrets for you. I'll put it in my builder kit. Oh, it does make things a little brighter. In fact, I'm going to buy an extendo grip. I'm going to put that in there too. £1 fish, very, very good £1 fish. He's selling sake. This in my number 2. Yeah. Tall! Oh, I can't do it here. It's too low. Which one's the song from Spritz enters his evil arc? I don't remember. I'm already distracted by my own bullshit. Okay. So, I'm decorating a bit. I do have these long flamingos to replace because she buys them for me. Because I like silly things. There we go. I'm going to check something real quick. General information check. Hellforge. Same as a regular furnace. Okay. Hellforge is our thing at the moment. We do not need a normal furnace for now. Hellforge does all of that and then some. I'm going to open up that floor space. I am in hell. I need to cough, but if I cough too hard, I'm going to pee. And we only have one working bathroom. And I'm the only person I didn't ask if they needed to use the bathroom before G got in the shower. That is, miserable? I have no mouth and I must scream, but I have to cough, but I must pee? Is that what we're looking at here? Your answer is yes. I'm sorry, Lindsay. Okay. That gives us room for one more crafting station. I don't know what we're going to get that's even useful right now.
Extract.
You want the extractinator in here?
Yes.
Okay. Apparently I got a bunch of your office materials.
Good, I have a closed inventory.
Okay, well I need them anyway because they're part of this and I didn't have them on. So I'm going to go ahead and incorporate some of the office materials into the build. It will be incomplete, but it will be something. Yay! Okay. Okay. My lighting a little bit to use some of what is on me. Alright. Furnace is not a material, does really? Interesting. Okay, we need to do some arrangement and cleanup. Things are rough right now.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's kind of what I was going for. No, arrangement.
Bark.
All right, baby. You want to bark for me? You want to
Come
bark?
on, that was funny.
You want to bark for mommy? You want to bark?
That was funny.
It was funny. Do it some more. Okay. Well, we have lots of granite, but we don't have that much smooth granite. I'm trying to think of what kind of chests I want for what. I know we can make water chests now, but I forget exactly how. I guess it's something to do with proximity to... There's aquarium. Necro helmet. Alright. Let's see here. I can make dynasty chests, but those are yours. I don't want to touch your wood. Sorry, baby, I don't want to touch your wood right now.
Darn.
I'll do it later when no one's looking.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That's so.
Okay. So begins process. Alright, we're going to name this.
There, Liz, I'll cough for you.
Ores. Bars. Gems. Okay, there's a start. What is 1,500 in my redeems? Is that the set a game roll ad time? 1,500 is ad time. You can force me to run an ad, or you can make it so I attempt to not curse for 10 minutes, and we all have a bet. And I am open to adjusting those as needed. I am following mostly recommendations of Twitch itself. So, yeah. It's all kind of just whatever right now. I need another kind of chest. How about... Where'd the granite one? That'd be perfect. Did you move the iron? Oh, you're in it. Sorry. I think you're in it. No? We have lots of stuff. Do I need to smelt? Do I not have enough metal for chests? Apparently not. Okie dokie. Well, that shifts my priorities. Take whatever you can. Loot all. Alright, we're going to be doing a couple laps. Check my DMs on Discord. Disc Orb? Oh, that sounds like a great, mod. All kinds of redeems everywhere. Twitch kind of has a good chunk of general ones. Okay. Checking my DMs on Discord. What? Oh! Guide the raid just says 1,500 instead of 3. Okay. I see the problem. Let's... Okay. I now understand. Let me see what I can do here real quick. How do they manage that? Okay, guide the raid. Save. There. That should fix it. That should fix it, in theory. I hope. I'm sorry. I didn't realize something that stupid was there. Guide the raid had been renamed to 1500 somehow. Okay. I think my inventories, I asked. The gems and have the amber. Have any more 4 boss stuff? Yeah, okay, so let's just put generic crap we don't have a set spot for. Yeah, sure, clip through the sky. That's fun. Thank you. Just anything I don't have a determined function for at this exact point in time, I'm going to put directly in here until things are considered otherwise. So you wanted the extractinator up here, which for now is fine. Okay. I'm doing lots of stuff. In a perfect world, I'd have an ice chest, but I might have to, I mean, there's a way to do that, isn't there? Hello, sir! Why purify the world when you can blow it up? He's not selling the ice bomb anymore. Why? Where'd my ice bomb go, you slut?
I bought a bunch. There should be in a box somewhere.
Yeah, but that's really concerning. I got a gold bunny. I love you too, my beloved wife. My favorite person in the world. Who else would be my favorite person in the world? My brother thinks you shouldn't be allowed to vote unless you own a house.
Your brother also thinks that people who've had a hell.
Get some rest, bird. We love you too.
Good night, birdie. Good night, son, daddy.
Good night, son, daddy. Also, hi, Limited.
We're terrible.
Are we terrible people? I think we're just horrible flirts. You think we're terrible people? I disagree with that. I think we're at least okay people.
No.
Like, we might not be, like, perfect people, but we're okay.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
You think we're just bad people?
Yeah.
Why are we bad people?
Because we flirt with people and...
Does it make them uncomfortable, or does it make them feel like, oh, yes? Because, I don't know. I feel pretty special when I'm flirted with, personally. I like feeling desirable. I don't know about you. I'm naming the gems box for gems and rarities specifically so I can put shadow scales in it. Well, it just seems like they make sense being with the ores because we always need them as, you know what I mean? They're basically tied to the... whatever.
Yeah, disappear now, Mr. Traveling Merchant Guy. It's dark and I can see. Don't go anywhere if you can see the person. You don't move. So
Yep.
I follow you around or trap you in a hole. Screwed.
There is now something I want that the game isn't giving me. And I think it would be extremely helpful.
I've trapped Raleigh, the traveling merchant, in a box.
Let's see.
Oh, you jumped over my box head. Here's Doug. Here's Doug.
Works for now.
Here, come look at my trap traveling merchant and laugh.
Okay, give me just a second. Oh, there's no point. That didn't work either. I was trying to stay my thought. I don't really like being perceived. I know a few people like that. And that's valid.
Who doesn't like being perceived?
Limited. Like, I get it. I really do. Sometimes I am in a headspace where I can relate to that one. But oh, you made the new anvil.
Yeah, I told you that.
I can also make the prospector's upgraded mining gear. So prospector shirt and helmet. 10 and 12 defense, respectively. They're better than Molten. They're better than Molten. I don't have the prospector pants, or you get the whole set, which gives you 10% increased mining speed. So you get light when worn, increased mining speed, and whatever the pants do, and then the set bonus is another 10% increase to mining speed. That's not bad. Okay, so I need to make a basic bitch chest. Which means I need some bars. Bars. Okay. A trash can? Basic chest for now. I would love to have more thematically appropriate chests, but whatever. This one's my miscellany. I wanted to make a granite one, because that at least looks kind of evil, or like a hellstone one, or obsidian or something, for boss spawn stuff, you know what I mean? Yeah. Is that dumb? I don't know either.
Get out of that box.
Fuck.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. I know what I want to do next. Okay. I can't carry that chest. I'm going to put office block in here for now, and I'm going to... Oh, shit. Damn it, I need that. Baby.
What?
The blue chest that you just got. It went into your inventory. I need it. Thank you. These snails out. Okay, thank you. What do I name this one? Naturals. Cobweb. Acorn. Feather. Hook. Tattered cloth. Mandible. Powder. Bone. Cactus. This key. Mushrooms. Lens. Chunks. Bait. Tooth. Bait should go in a different box. Poop. Stars, more mushrooms, silk, lens, pink gel, firefly. Wow, no, these are different things. Okay. I wonder if you can block swap chests. Bugs. Ooh, that'd be a good one, folks. Let's test it. You can! You can block swap chests, baby. Even with stuff in them. So what type I place doesn't matter. We can redecorate anytime we want. That rules. That makes me happy. How weird it is to not have any gold chests. You know what I want now? Like, really bad. They really need to give us a way to remove the adjective off of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Well, we've gained, I've lost my train of thought immediately. A lot of gel. I guess I'll leave that there because you're using it. You can stack items with the same name. So since we have all of these things with the same with different adjectives, they take different slots.
Furniture box.
Not yet. I'm working on it. I have this box that's unlabeled is just miscellaneous shit.
I'm just gonna put this down here.
Okay.
You can order.
Okay. Sorry, I am actively working on it. Basically, I'm saying if you could strip the adjectives off stuff, you could stack them. They take up less room. More mushroom chests. Can I make a cactus chest? Ooh. I don't know why I like them all being different. I just do. I'm a freak. Another one. Right.
How are you?
Fish rhinos. Okay. What do you have? Furniture. Yeah, we haven't gotten there yet. I'm sorry. Sink is technically crafting. Be more viable.
Sarah,
Yeah. What? Yes, love?
will you be my wife?
Yes! Danny slot immediately. Me stripping my adjectives, pause. That's true. That's true.
Oh, I also got you this.
Mento, I'm solving puzzles.
You make my heart flutter.
Bedazzled nectar. Can't put a sink there. Someone's a pet butterfly. Only the best, most exquisite flower excrement. That is a pretty butterfly. It's the only way to just put semons, is there? Okay. Stash it somewhere? No? Fine, go on my piggy bank. The problem with having the fairy is the fairy actually does something, and it's a really useful something in this context. No, you're fine. I just like, oh, I wanna use stuff, and I can't. It's annoying. Like any other pet, it's just like, oh, this is kind of moot right now. Which is a shame, because getting new pets is like a lot of fun, and I'd like to partake in that pleasure. You may put that in different contexts if you'd like.
Grumpy Slime, you need to move. Where's the doggy? The doggy
Really?
needs to go in with the guy. Grumpy Slime needs to go in with the wizard. Actually, as well.
Put it there. That works really well, actually. Fuck!
You say fuck.
I said fuck. It's fun. Nice, Britzy. I'll say Megapunk has spoiled me in one very specific way that I'm missing right now. Turn down the opacity of your own bullshit. Like right now when I'm trying to build, I could like make my dudes transparent. So they'd stop being in me face.
In the face.
When I'm trying to build and tear and all that. Rip and tear! Anyway. Okay. Cheesy pizza poster. Okay. Just checking in, says Spritzy, and then I said rip and tear, and I think Liz is in on that because she just posted a rage emote. Knife for tearing. Got it, got it, got it, got it, got it! Yes, dear.
What do you mean? Lanterns out of hearts.
That you need chain and a heart crystal. They're all on me, I think. Or no, they're in our tools box. So if you come over here, everything should be here. I've been migrating anything you're not actively building with into the appropriate spots as best I can. It has been very much a process. I have to reorganize my clothing setup too, but that's fine. All this room down here for it. Take these, and I can take the star box, and we can do something with that. Yes, yes. Better. Crab's an animal. Bird. Fish counts. Fish ain't animals. Bugs. Okay.
Oh, do you need ice bombs still?
Yes.
They're in this first wooden chest. Here, I'll just bring them.
Thank you. do. Do 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 do.
Do, 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 do.
Shit, not the fish.
Do, 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 do.
Oh, well, that's not so bad. It doesn't break your animal spots. They stay safe. Ow. Fuck you. It's not Jurassic Park, is it?
That is Jurassic.
I thought Jurassic Park was da na 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 na.
It's two different.
Movies have themes for different things? Stinking bougie fucks. Glub glub. I am an otter, and I am swimming in the water. I should breathe. Okay. Okay. Now I should be able to make delicious ice furniture. No, I can't. I don't have the shit. No, my baby. I have the what?
The wood.
Yeah, I have lots of wood here. Wonder if you can get them to sell you one if you put the merchant different biomes on this one.
Try that.
I'd have to make an ice, whatever you call it. You know what? If we're doing that, we're doing this. That was a waste.
Hey,
What? Why, yikes.
that's it.
Yes, dear. I want to eat those mashed potatoes for 600 years. Wait, what do you mean, what? What did I miss you saying what to? Fritz got confused. It could have been anything. Yes, he is a one-celled organism. That's why I said it could be anything. Screams. I don't remember screaming. Did I scream?
Screams is the. There's a box called Screams.
Oh, the box of screams. Yeah, there's a box of screams.
Why don't you have the oars and the bars in the same box?
You can change it if you want. I just thought, I don't know. The
I'm
oars,
just throwing this shit in here.
maybe you can do whatever you want. If you don't like my organization, by all means, alter it.
I'm just throwing stuff in the boxes.
What do you mean?
I mean this one
Huh?
that doesn't have a name, so I'm just throwing stuff in there.
The green one? Oh, no, the
The
yeah,
granite one with no name.
my unsorted marble. Yeah,
I just put random shit in there.
that's what that is right
Oh,
now.
hey, new merchant.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's old. He's old, but need some glass. Need some glass.
If you need another gold bunny, I put it in the chest in the underground place with all your other animals. Unless you want me to put the gem animals up here. I don't know either, baby girl. That's why I did what I did. Okay. I love you.
Love you too.
You're beautiful. And anyone who says otherwise is a lying bitch.
Wow.
That's right.
That's my ex.
Lying bitch. Sorry, your ex was a very bad person. I try not to be a very bad person for you. You deserve a good person. Run, 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 run. Run, 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 run. Run, 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 run. Run, 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 run. Run, 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 run. I killed a bird. Run, 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 run. Talk to the dryad. Lots of plants, including a hollow cedar. Hollow seeds, grass seeds, just the standards. Jungle wall. Lots of stuff. A derpling! Yeah, I'm a little worried about that. I'll make it work. Like a deadling. Ha 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 ha! Ha 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 ha! Punch your dad in the dick again. Punch your dad in his fucking dick again. You think I'm sexy? I'm being mysterious. Sending you these mixed messages. Yeah, anyway, the screams box is for different voice callers we find. Yeah, goldfish cloud.
Okay. Decorate.
We're decorating.
Wizard is decorative painter. Oh, painter.
He recommends pink and black swirls. Trust him. I believe that's just called straight candy goth, but alright. Playing fast and loose, playing fast and loose with my life. You make an underground hollow so I can make the upgraded faceplate. I like being able to yeet the blade. That's pretty fun, actually. Until you get a blade that, you know, has projectiles of some kind. It's harder when most of those are natural drops, and we don't get that at this point. Concerning. Oh, you're going to turn into the Shimmer Slime. Sorry? Oh, no! Shimmer Slime evil! So the Shimmer Slime, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, my imp was trying to shoot the Shimmer Slime, and the projectiles were bouncing off the imp and hitting me. Or not off the imp, off the slime and hitting me.
What are you putting in the shimmer?
I was putting ice in the shimmer to make snow. I'm gonna feed it this blue macaw. Because I'm the villain for Mario. Turn into a Phelan. It is now a spirit of the world. Have to wait to deal with that until later, but yeah. All right. You know, as baby wishes, baby shall receive.
Oh, hey, I made you a present.
Okay.
Well, bam.
Oh, those are fun. What do I do with you? I guess we can start.
Mixed messages.
Mixed messages. Because I said I punched Dad in the dick again. That's part of the song.
Oh, it's your fault.
Yeah. It is my fault. Then I punch your dad in the dick. Ha 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 ha. Ah. See. a.
Don't look at my decoration.
You still have all the wood? I'm gonna need some wood.
I don't have to look.
Shit, you're right. Okay. Painter has some paint. Dye trader has dye block. Wizard has crystal ball. Wolf girl has. What is that? Easter something.
Your bathtub, but like it looks like there's like
Um,
an animal in
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Nurse has heart crystals and stuff, potions, engineer, chant. The guide has a dog. That's cute. Good job, baby. Put your dad in the dick again. Put your dad in his fucking dick again. You think I'm sexy? I'm being mysterious. Sending you these big mixed messages. You say, stop punching my dad's dick. I say, okay, but then I wink. Ding. And you grab both of my hands quick. Only my third attempt to punch your dad's dick. Oh, baby, you played this game before. But you see, I played a little bit more. You grabbed both of my hands, so I used my head. I headbutt your dad's dick in the back of an ambulance. I have my favorite songs. I'm gonna do.
We need a food box.
Yes, that's why I wanted to make an ice box, but I can't make an ice box. It's just gotta be a normal fucking box or a mushroom box or something. Because life is stupid! What kind of box you want your food in,
I
baby?
just put it in a normal.
Which box?
The one right by the cooking pot.
Oh, you just want that to be food?
Hmm.
Okay. Hey, baby, you played this game before. I'm putting rope and tools. Spiky ball and tools for now. Animals gets the squirrel. Squirrel's done. Is it an okay little sorting system so far? Cool. I am gonna.
Done.
I'm gonna have some more of those taters. I'm apparently still hungry. Really good. I think. No, you weren't.
They tasted old.
God.
Wow.
Yeah, I realized I kind of have the same age like. Oh, it's so good. Oh. Stuck my head. But hey, at least it's not Aaron having low T for 5 seconds. What a lovely change of pace. I can show the people what we've done while we were grinding earlier. It's a really short list. She extended my rope up so she could fight things in the sky. It went well. And I helped with the material grind. Because she wanted me to put up to grind for materials while I cooked. And I was like, all right. And it wasn't going great because we're having a hard time getting the gear going for hard mode. So I extended this out so we won't be dealing with Medusas from there over so much. You can see the damage is less than ideal. And then I made this little box to hide in. So you can just like, yeah, you know, and you can hide in here. And then you're Gucci for a while. And then these guys will slowly die because apparently my imp does not care, and you'll get materials and such. And while you get materials and stuff, you can just be like, "Hey, what's up with my wife?" Assumedly, stuff's still spawning around me. I might have a disorder. Okay. What's up? Something beeped. I don't know what. Oh well. And so over here, yeah, they're still getting fought and dying. So, you know, we get little bits of ore and stuff. Not amazing, nothing quick, but they're doing the job. And every so often we get a little something. And yeah. It's an okay attempt at grinding. Now, if I wanted to get real clever, I could set up like a dart trap situation. You know what I mean? So we do have the mechanic now. That might actually be kind of fun. I'm cursed immediately. Also, yeah, the metal slimes try to thwomp you out of existence. It's pretty rude, frankly. Oh no! I got the skull guy down here, the bones dude. Calm. I don't know what he has, because good luck. Yo-yo glove, and fuck you. Shop. Wand of Sparking? It's a material now, so I'm going to buy it just to do that. Strange Brews. He has Strange Brews, baby. I did. I was down to 7. I was down to fucking 7. Are those still worth it for us right now? Alright, well I got some. They're the only healing I've had this entire time. So, I figure I may as well cap those off until I get a better system going. You know what I mean? Does he drop anything if they manage to kill him? I don't know either. Okay. And with that... And I did as you wished. I put the ores together. I'm a good girl. Everyone loves me. Okay. So now, our newfound pile of snow. You don't get souls from the corruption unless it's underground, do you? Alright. So we've got a lot to figure out on that front, but hey. One thing at a time. Wouldn't the shiver thorn bloom? Does that matter right now? Do we need seeds for that? Okay. We'll try to leave the shiver thorn alone for now then. You gotta be ugly about it, game. Alright. Penguin! Are there any enemies that spawn in the snow that make more snow by chance? Yeah, that'd be really nice. Just lacking for a lot of options here. Be nice if the slimes that spawn, like, I mean, Hell had the hell slimes all of a sudden. That just the lava slimes. So there's like room for wondering, you know what I mean? Oh, well, I got 2 Shiverthorn seeds. I don't know what popped it. It wasn't me. Might have been my dude. I don't know. Figured we got sick of this being in the way. Maybe the Dryad would if she lived here? Is that something we need to work with? I have no idea. Lots of room to wonder right now. Start this, because you know what we're going to want eventually, you know? Sooner or later, you're going to need that fish in hole. That's just the nature of the game. Well, not necessarily in Skyblock, but if you want the stuff from the fisherman so you can make the shell phone or whatever. Yeah, you kind of need it. There's an ice slime. Nothing special, but an ice slime. Let's see. That's a pretty good hole for water, right? I think. Oh, shit. Okay. We've got a blizzard. Now, part of the problem is that our ice just isn't very big, so we're not getting enemies spawning the way I'd like. Get pretty close to that before anything. So I guess what we need to do is expand out to the left so we get more actual ice enemies. Oh my god, Ice Golem. Fighting him like an absolute coward, and it's working. Not well, but it's working. I just have to chip through his 4,000 health 20 at a time. Give me your Frost Core. Give me your Frost Core. Let's skip some steps. Give me your Frost Cores. I forget what exactly they're good for, but I know I want them. Alright, well, he's not going anywhere, so I'm gonna grab a bite of potatoes. La 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 la. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Okay, so he can shoot me still. But not if I'm up 2 spaces. Ooh! Amarok. What damage does Amarok do by chance? 51. We have a new yo-yo. Even better than the new yo-yo I literally just got. That's pretty good. We're going to use that. That's working much better. Okay, I was going to tear down this ice block, but if it's how I'm going to fight a golem and not die, then, I got an ice feather, baby.
Excellent.
I also got a second Amarok if you'd like it. Excuse me, I go grab all this shit. Jesus, there's a 2 gold pile of money. Oh no. Angry Nimbus. Mind you, Angry Nimbus can give me, like, my favorite magic item, just because I like setting traps. Just as a rule. I love sentries. I love setting traps. I mean, what I said initially, that covers it. Love setting traps. There's another ice golem. All right.
Like, I don't think Trap Setter is a class, but, you know. If anyone would be down with it, it'd be me. I can't aim for shit, but I can strategize. Look at this sad loser. He can't do nothing. He's half dead. Okay, yeah. He might be going back to Yo-Yo for a while. It's been a while since I've made Yo-Yo, but this is really helping right now. I chuck in my sword, and it's still going to get my go-to muscle memory and whatnot, but... I got a second Ice Feather. And no Frost Core from that one. Ooh, Angry. Okay. Squeeze me? Yo-Yo glove she got me might get some use after all, man. Right, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna come over here. Extend out this way a little bit, right? Not a lot, just a little, because we get too close, we end up in the corruption. That negates whatever I'm trying to do here, but I want to extend the platform a little. Penguins! Gotta love penguins. Okay. If you don't love penguins, wrong. Wrong. Weird, gross, and wrong. What's wrong with you? Wrong. Penguins are great. Oh, shit. Come get it. Come on. Creep over here, dickhead. I'd mind this wall real quick. Don't worry about it. Now he's going to get close, and I'm going to run like a little bitch baby. Yes, you see? And now... Oh, the Frost Core's up there. I remember I need like 3 of them for something? I don't remember what. You remember what, baby?
It's a magic thing.
Ah. I do like going magic once it's viable. Like, even now, the stupid, the scythe is pretty decent. Don't you run from me. Don't you... Oh, he's cheeky. Did you see that maneuver? He went shorter so he could duck down and hit me. Advanced golem strats. This guy's on to me. And he's dead. He's dead. He's so dead. You're all welcome to laugh at him. He's dead now. He's dead. Anyway. Sorry? Oh, shit. There's one on the other side. This is pretty safe. There's also a desert enemy you can fight, but you can't really cheap shot that thing as easily. With the tornadoes and the flying and whatnot. We respect the, what is it, Sanjin or whatever? Those things are scary. I can be a saucy bitch, but I you know... Even I have some things I'm like, yeah, no. We respect that enemy. We keep our distance, and we... Ooh, he's cranky. He's trying to pathfind. He's failing, but he's trying. All it takes is one spawning on the other side for me to be, like, absolutely screwed. Thankfully, they're pretty rare. In fact, we're getting enough of them at this point. I'm kind of surprised, but... Penguin killer. Like, genuinely, I'm surprised how many are spawning. They're usually quite uncommon. Oh, look, another guitar. Rain Song. I, at the moment, am lacking in inventory space, to be blunt. But it'll be better once I use my snow here. I'm going to try and level this out a bit, because I would like to make some sort of town over here. Hopefully. And then I have ice I can use... I thought... Shit. He's back. Yeah, I was gonna tell you, like, I could put the building right here. I wanted to. I got acorns I can plant. I can make some boreal wood. We don't have any of that yet, I don't think at all. French fries. Can't carry them, but French fries. This is still really tedious, but it's way better than the sword was doing, so. All right. Jeez. Well, lots of cloud, if nothing else. Tons of cloud. There's ores and stuff. Like, there's all kinds of crap over here. I just do not have inventory room to carry. And another one of these guys is coming. Oh. Good thing his aim is ass. Oh, is that all my ice? Okay. Did I despawn him in that process? Alright, sure. I am so slow right now. Oh, I hate being frozen. Okay. Back to this thing. Okay. I could honestly just get rid of a lot of the stuff in my status bar right now. Like, that mace is way outclassed right now. It's basically useless. That's the big one I'm seeing. Okay. Multiple French fries. Wow. Couple torches. Do I have acorns? I do. One here. There. Let's put them in the middle of these. Scream about the cold, unfeeling world we've found ourselves in again. Been attacked by an Arctic wolf. Oh my god. I can't get it done. There's too many mans.
Help?
I would love help, actually, at this point. I am full. There's, like, rare items all over the ground. If you come over here, there's at least 2 French fries that are all yours. Shit, he's getting wise. I'm about to die. It's not worth it. I'm about to die. I'm so dead. I'm so dead. Nope. But did you find a pile of money? That was a lot. We do not need a 4th trifold map. All right. Man, that was a lot. Any good treats over there?
Oh no, I'm dying.
Sounds about right. It was all good, then the sun set and it became a unpleasant experience very quickly. So.
Ow.
Yeah. We found the golem too. Yay. Are you using a yo-yo at all? How much damage does the whip do?
46.
Okay, come here.
I need to go get an upgrade.
Yeah, I should do that with my shit too. I'm not using harpoon. It sucks. Flaming mace is so out stinking worth at this point.
I migrated all of the stuff from the house to here.
Wow, good job. That's a lot. Guide. Just like yellow. Useless. Okay. Ice Feather. Ice Feather and 20 Souls of Flight can make frozen wings. Frost Core can make Frost Helmet. Increased melee and range damage. Ooh. Requires red. It can also be used to make the Blizzard in a Bottle. And the Ice Whip. How much did you say your whip does?
It's
Cool Whip. 46 summon damage. Average speed. Weak knockback. 6 summon tag damage. Summons a friendly snowflake. That's unmodified. But that needs multiple souls. It needs light and night. So we need a hollow to get that. Leggings need adamantite. Okay. I've got my next upgrade. Blizzard in a Bottle, also quite good. So, look at that. I am a big fan of upgrading my uppies. Yes, whip. Cool whip. Say it again. Cool whip. Oh, the plant. Star Veil. Blizzard in a Bottle. Fine. And Ice
like a
Wings.
blizzard in a bottle.
Welding Mask?
Blizzard in a bottle?
Okay, so do you have a cloud in a bottle?
Yeah.
Then bring me the cloud and I'll turn into a blizzard. I'm going to use some of your souls to make the frozen wings. I'm going to put them on over my shackle. 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 Or I can just give you one of these. Here. Now you can make it. Advanced accessories. I've made the hard star veil and the guarding plan. Are you using the star cloak?
Oh.
I believe star veil is an advanced cloak. Causes stars to fall, increases length of invincibility after
How do you
taking
make
damage. Blizzard in a bottle, you need cloud in a bottle, and oh, I had a fart in a jar. You need cloud in a bottle and a frost core, and you cannot be wearing the cloud. You got to take it off.
I don't see it.
With the frost core?
Yeah.
I mean, I use the tabs big time. Okay, do we have a weapons box yet? You're the weapons box. So it has been deemed. Weapons.
You did the crystal ball.
Oh. We're on the crystal ball. Okay. Whatever. Cool. Did you get it? Okay. Molten Quiver is going to go in advance because I believe it is something you have to make. Fart in a jar I'll leave in there. Well, I mean, it is kind of advanced, I guess. It combines Whoopee Cushion and... Okay, I'm going to put the last 5 ice bombs in tools. Frustrating. I don't know why we can't get them now. I set up some boreal.
He's setting them.
He is?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the new one? Okay.
I get on the ground.
Okay, I'm going to bring the seeds over to your garden. Unless you're intending to move your whole garden. Whatever you want. I got 2 Shiverthorn seeds, so I just plant those in your Shiverthorn pile. There you go. Now, would you prefer frost cores in naturals or rarities? Okay. Big sneeze. So in theory, there is frost armor I can make. But I'm gonna need a lot of the something. Palladium. Well, and mithril smelting. Hope that's okay. But with the new weapon, 60 melee. 60 melee. I'm doing 31. Holy shit. Sword's ass. Alright. Oh, I'm using it less all the time. Okay. But now I got more uppies. I've got gliding. All damage resistance. Ice feather. Naturals or rarities? Back. Pulse? I'm gonna put the frost fire in here for now. Where are we putting platforms at the moment? We have a furniture? Oh. You're so smart. I'm gonna sell that. Here's the deal with this. I'm gonna sell the Keen Harpoon because there's nothing we can do with it and it only does 25 damage. It's not very good. It is quite outclassed, and I don't think there's any reason to hold on to it. I don't think we have a dice box yet. Imp
It's
staff.
with the die tray.
Okay. Fisher of Souls. Is there anything else I want up there? Not really. That'll work for now. Streamline my stuff slightly. Hi. Alright. You're building. I gave you the yo-yo, right? You don't have to use it. It's just, it's by far the best damage of anything I had on me. So, I got 2 of them, so I gave you 1. I'm going to go see the goblin. That's actually a really smart idea. I haven't done it in a long time. Smart. Sounds like something a smart person would do. What's Brooke up to? Have you talked to her by chance? Have you talked to Brooke? Please talk to Brooke. Okay. So Wild Frozen, I don't care about that at all. Why is this? Oh, because I'm in shop instead of Reforge. Okay. Money I have. Oh, I have quite a bit. A platinum and platinum. Oh. Intrepid. Warding. Warding Frozen Wings. Boom. Obsidian Skull's not permanent. Spectre Boots have nothing. Violent? Oh, I'll take that. It's fine. Band of Regents, Old Hat. Wizard's Sword naturally. Let's see. Imp Staff has. Thank you, baby. Loyal? I don't mind that. 5 armor penetration and wow. And it works bonus with the whip. Have you gotten any of the unique whatchamacallums for the summons yet?
Oh, what?
There's unique names for summons now. Right, so Imp, I got Loyal Imp Staff, has 5 bonus armor penetration and 3 summon tag damage.
Oh, I haven't. I had my Imp staff isn't even updated. I need to update.
Yeah,
all
they
this.
have new adjectives just for
I forgot
summons.
to update my gear. I
That's
just
fine.
updated my armor.
I was just saying. They expanded the list to have more things that benefit summoners specifically. That's part of why the rainbow for melee and the rainbow for summoners, it makes it stop, are different names. Like Magic and Melee always had different ones, but they added ones just for you. You specifically, and no one else. Isn't that cool? Redigit was like, Kazi kicks ass. And everyone was like, you right? Godly Amarok. Thank you. And I guess I could give this something. Fine, good enough. Amarok's sick now. We're golden. Alright, cool. Get your animals for baby. Doobie doobie doobie. Right. Let's go up to the other one. Upgraded imp, upgraded other thing. Nice and strong. Oh my god, up here a ways. Okay. Teleported. Demonic chain knife. Unfortunately, chain knife is ass.
Hey, where are you?
I'm going to the farming spot. Why? What you thinking? Good stuff for me? Do you want me to come home? Oh, okay, if you say so. I actually have a goal, is all. If I get the right ores, I can get a new armor set that's specifically like, oh, that suits me really well. And it uses my frost cores. Fuck you too. Okay, so here's what we do. We go whomp and whomp. And we laugh and laugh and laugh. Oh, fuck, I remembered the other thing I wanted to do. Hold up. We're not ready yet. This can be made dumber. We can make it stronger. More juvenile. More outlandishly silly. And you may be wondering, how silly are you talking, Sarah? Pretty silly. I have ideas. And she has stuff for me. So I'm going to go back to the house here. So let me kill this guy, because he's got titanium. You got rid of what?
I made you stupid, but I just...
Oh. Now I feel like a bitch. Because I wasn't there for dinner. Oh, Gradient's even better than Amarok. My Amarok's godly, so it's kind of a tie. I'd have to go respec that.
Okay. Built an house. I'm building an underground jungle or a jungle.
Okay.
I don't know why I built the jungle. Thinking about it, because I can't get the things to spawn on the surface.
What are you looking for? I have jungle. Oh, this? You built the jungle because you wanted a place for your frogs. Huh? You're not stupid, honey. You like things. You have ways that you like things, and that's all in here.
Yes.
But, oh, the sheet. Oh my god, 96! Oops! Is this one you can stack?
No. Thank you, Mr.
Only throws one.
Merchant.
Okay, it's fine. Yeah, my phase blade is now thoroughly useless, so.
Hold on. However, I do have it in here.
No, all my pet is tree pet. She is eternal. She is free wood in Skyblock. Okay, play song. Alright. Right, I came up here for something. We have dart traps somewhere, right? Is it in furniture? Oh, I'm up to things. I need the mechanic for reasons. Don't worry about it. We're getting jungle music here now. I don't think so. This might count as a jungle town now, though.
Sorry, I'll think that.
Does the pylon still work? long as the pylon still works, I don't give a fuck.
No.
Alright, baby girl. Need this, and I need a bunch of wire. That should be... Well, let's do a clean 40. And, beaver. Firebulb, timer, Yeah? Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Yes. It was cool, it just had a side effect. Things like that is how people find out about the you can make your own biome thing in the first place, so you just like truncated that experience down into something primal. What? The cloud blocks? Yeah, give me a minute. I'm want accessories, please, or no. Equipment? Tools? Multicolor wrench. Thank you. I thought that these combined into something, but it's like, nah, so I guess I gotta go ask the guy. She wants the cloud. Clouds. Is that tools? Just one? Okay. Crosshairs on the Cazo. Crosshairs on the Cazo. If my exotic coat shrinks, I will be a tad upset. Exotic butters. Crafting. This thing. Grand design. I need way more of that. Okay. Yo, girl, I'm gonna buy like 100 wire off you. Come here. Always buy more than you need. You're right. I'm stupid. How dare I not? About like 200 even. That's even better. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go make the grand design. Okay. I would have brought you the whole stack if I knew. In just a second, I am making the grand design. I like to have the grand design. Oh, yeah. You now have the grand design. Can I turn off... Oh, thank you. Hate that thing. Has its uses. When you're not using it, it's kind of just annoying. Fading it out kind of gives me a headache. Down to the wire here. Yes. We have 2 viewers. One of whom may or may not be me. But limited's here. Be limited. Unlimited. Down I go. Tra-la-la. Squalala. Jeffrey Bezos. Jeffrey Bezos. Okay. Now begins this. Oh, it goes through enemies. I thought it would bounce off. Okay. Now begins the true stupidity. Okay, we're going in here, and I'm going to do F2. They're like, why are you doing F2? Feel silly. Can I put the plan in, like, one of... No, I cannot. Okay, well, I need to plan up here. Here's what we're doing. Okay, here's what we're doing. We're going to make an absolute dog shit. Okay, so my facing matters. That's fine. Boom. Boom. Okay. Now, with the plan, I need to place a timer. Like so. Okay. If this works the way I think it does, we can make a wire. Okay. And we can just... that. Now, in theory, can I make these translucent? It's not repeating. It's supposed to repeat. Just kind of home in on enemies. Okay. Oh no, it's doing it. It just takes a while. Okay, so we got a nice little trap going. There we go. I have upgraded my death pit. What? Okay. I put dark traps in it. It'd be better if any of these guys got in. I guess it would help if I have marble on me? Okay. Like that. Just a little way for them to get up. Yeah, that helps. There, now they're going in. Oh, and a Medusa spawned because there's just not 0 marble here. You know what that means? That's right, I'm getting revenge for when this thing hurt my wife a lot earlier. You don't like what game? Good news, baby. The disgusting potatoes you didn't like are gone. I ate 2 boxes of them myself. Bags, rather, but they're gone. I killed them. This is fun. They just all die. Oh, hey, an armor polish. That's immunity to something or other, isn't it? Broken armor. Okay. Hi. Welcome to the death pit. Oh, my dude's despawned. What the hell? Hold on, I gotta fix that. There you go. I used wiring to do evil.
Yeah, so wiring can damage you too.
Yes, that's why there's a safe little hole you hide in. You see? Now. In a perfect world, I line these up so that I could just have a little hole on either side, and then more. My yo-yo can go out and kill as I see fit. Mob farm, mob farm. Kind of a slow one. Nymph. Dead. Metal detector. Big scary worm. This won't work in every environment. Like, the digging worms can still get you. Anything that can go through walls can get you. And it can hurt you. Again, like she said, if I go up there, those can hurt me. Gotta mind the darts. But they hurt them. So. Milk. If we get really brave and strong and decide to take on the old one's army again before Plantera, we can get the stronger summons. You know? Mimic. Fight glove. So that does home in on guys?
Yeah.
You throw it straight up at... Oh my. Is that just if you hold the button it keeps going, or if I let go it comes back? Oh no, I can let go. Wow. Medusa dropped
Medusa head.
her head. Is that a weapon?
Yeah.
Dang.
Ow.
Yeah, watch out. Sorry, I put platforms, but then they could avoid it. I don't want them to do that.
Good bro is here.
Ooh. Oh, the
Bone guy.
bone guy.
Hint.
Gradient, is that the 58 damage one?
9.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm doing 58 with the Amarok, and that's godly, so... It is an extremely good thing, I just don't know if I want to spend the money on it after just getting the things. You know, for 1 damage, and... Well, it's 58, but you'd have to go, like, do the reforging and everything. Like, I don't know if that's... I could get decent straight-up 100 HP healing potions, though, instead of... random one I have. I'll do that. I'll get nice 50 normal person healing potions instead of lesser or whatever that thing is. Yeah. That's an improvement. I'm going to sell the Strange Brew then. It has served me well, but if I am upgrading, I'm upgrading. Here we go. Nice. Got a little mithril. Only fire every like 3 or 4 seconds or something. So definitely slows down. It's a 1 second repeating signal. It's like, yeah, but okay, yeah, the shield's pretty sick. Damn. I'm appreciating what you put down here, baby. Platinum or calcum. I'm getting a little bit. I thought there was way more than that. Where's all the ore I got? 17 cobalt. Am I too low for ore? Should I go back up? Oh no, I got a stone golem. Let's say this is easier to get out the hole. Rock golem head, baby. Can be placed. Can be placed. I didn't know that. It's fun. Put his head places. Oh, I know what the downside to build your own dungeon is, especially. Just, we have no candles. And no bewitching station like you like. Let's search another way to get them. I thought we could buy those from somebody. Eventually. Froggy neckband. Do we have that one on here yet?
No.
Alright, well we got it now. Done. Okay. I think that's a good 2 hours of going for it. Look at all this world we've lit up. I drew a slice of cheese. Another Medusa. It works. It's a little cheese, but it works. Our goal is farming, right? So it's kind of where it's at right now. Little Valentine's check. We upgraded our house, right? We reworked our storage. I have a goal. I'm gonna get my stuff for my frost core. Need lots of adamantite, so it's gonna be a bit. But the farm is working.
I'm a godly Sergeant United shield that has 112 melee damage.
Pretty fucking good, girl. This yo-yo can stay out for a long time. I think I should put a door on the other side, but they need that to get up. On this side now, is this a different one of him? Yo-yo gloves. Format C. To you, honey. Being hurt much. Doing this right. So if I do that, what happens? There's a Medusa in my thing. Get two yo-yos.
I thought the dungeon is supposed to be harder.
Dungeon gets harder after Plantera. Something. There's a point where it'll say screams echo from the dungeon. Yeah, we're not there yet.
Yeah, I'm done.
Genuinely. Oh, there's the mirror. Sick. That's kind of what I wanted from that. Huh? A pocket mirror. Medusa drops a mirror that gives you immunity to something. It's part of making the big I'm immune to everything thing. Is there anything below me? Oh, not really. Okay. So I got an armored pocket mirror, trifold mat. I'm not wearing my chicken thing right now. I got another Medusa head. So that's fun. And I made the plan.
I clean out the house.
Yep. I can do this. So, how do you like that? Whole yo-yo build right now. It's very strange for me, but where it's at. Okay. Yeah, it's just grind. So, you know. Grind, it's late. I just thought it'd be a nice little check-in. I don't expect anything all that interesting to happen over the rest of the night. Let's go, Limited. Anything you want to talk about before we bail? The magic of friendship? Potato chips? Tail wagon. Morning coffee and a wagging tail. Well, I'm helping you. Bide, wake up. I believe Australia, it officially is Singles Awareness Day for anyone into that. Which, you know, I don't know why we need a Singles Awareness Day. I feel like I'm very aware of everyone who's single at my age. High school, I appreciate it more, but like now, it's just like, yeah, I get it. We're
You're single.
30 or 40. You're chronically single, and we all know. God, do we all know? Fuck you, Medusa. You didn't touch me. You're not a fan of packaged potato chips. I've never had potato chips that aren't packaged. I'm assuming you mean like homemade? I think well, maybe no, traveling merchant. Should I go see what he's got? I think I've had something resembling homemade potato chips once in my life, and I was like, yeah, these sure are dense. Really dense. I mean, the cut's gonna determine everything, you know what I mean? I got 29 mithril ore. I mean, I got some stuff. I'm not over here celebrating. I'm gonna put the Froggy Charm in the Screams box for all future Screams. I'm gonna put the plan in my piggy bank because I don't see you doing a lot of wiring typically. I sure do. I'm gonna put this in there too because I use it quite a lot, but not right now. E. Sort the rest later. Trying to find the guy. He's over here. Hi, would you like a trifold map? I really don't see myself ever needing more of them. He's got Star Hairpin, Magic Hat, Katana, Dynasty Wood, and Shingles if you want more of those.
Can you grab the star?
Star Hairpin is grabbed, my love. So I put it on your mannequin. The ones you buy in the packages you snack with. I get that. I just don't know what the alternative really is. Forgive me, I am criminally American. I can't do that without taking it off your... I'll just hold it for you for next time. NBD, man. Can I do anything with what I got? I'm gonna make a yo-yo string. Well... Wait, if I do that, and I take... this... and this, I can make... strung counterweight. I think that's new. Well, now there's yo-yo bag. I think they added a step to yo-yo bag. I think they made strung counterweight as like an additional step. Very strange. Okay. Well, whatever. Did you get your frozen wings? Oh, would you like me to make you frozen wings? Okay. Just trying to have... We have 3 metal detectors. We will never need more than 2 metal detectors. I'm going to sell those. Depth meter, sort items, all Gucci. I'll make chips for dinner from time to time. Fair enough. I think that's the kind I've had. Like someone made that once for me, and I wasn't a huge fan. I like them really light and crisp. So you have to cut them pretty thin because I am spoiled by store-bought, but I wasn't raised on homemade chips. So where are we putting boss summons for now, baby? You have a boss's box? Oh, didn't even see that. Okay. Got an extra skull. Actually, it looks like that's our first skull. So we have all 3 mechanical bosses lined up. Whenever you're feeling particularly... Yeah. I'm going to put the wire in furniture, I guess? I could put the plan in tools if you want. I don't know if you're interested in that in the slightest. May as well. I mean, I'd prefer to keep it on me. I can always make another one. They're really easy. You can buy literally everything you need from the mechanic lady, and then you just go. You know what I mean? Well, supposedly, we can start finding strange planets also. We don't have that much world, so you'd think they'd stick out pretty easily. Guess I could go for a little jog and see what we can find. I'm at 375. I don't know. Have you had homemade chips, babe? You know, what do you think of those? You don't know. They're okay. I like my cheese and my sour cream and onion and whatnot, so I'm kind of a... Spoiled, I guess. I'm not seeing any strange plants here. Clean up so they have somewhere they can grow. Us. We need to give them space to happen, right? Why not? Just keep an eye out. We get some interesting dye colors. That could be fun. Make us look all sorts of weird ways. So much cheaper to make them myself, that is true. Buying hot chips from any fast food place costs the same as a kilogram of potatoes. I don't think we have a fast food place that makes fresh chips. I think the Mexican place might make their own tortilla chips. I think they do. They're alright. But that's like a side with your meal. I don't think you really buy it. Well, you can. How much was that big old, like... That's not bad, I guess. I mean, for chips they made, yeah, that's not terrible. Sure, it'd probably be cheaper to buy the potatoes and cook them yourself, but I mean, they're deep frying them probably and everything, so. That is an added step. Hive slime. I'll take some hive block. Yeah, my car! I got you some birds, baby. I'm not seeing any strange plants, though. I'm trying to make room for there to be strange plants in the future. Oh shit, a barracuda. Or an arapima. My brain was incorrect. Mock me. Mind the oven, since a deep fryer would be really annoying to have around. It is. Olive oil is also much healthier and you can use way less than submerging everything in. Yes. The only benefit of a deep fryer really is if you're doing things kind of in bulk. Otherwise, I just can't imagine it being worth it. I've never owned one. I guess you could technically do it in any pot or whatever, but I don't know. I could be deeply wrong about that. I have no idea. Yeah, cleaning it. Can you put, if you do deep frying, can you put the oil down the sink, or is that one of those donos? So you have to put it in like a bowl or the trash or something?
You have to get like a powder to put in it that turns it. Have to throw
That sounds like a pain in the ass.
water.
It sounds like a huge pain in the ass.
Plus the oil gets in the air in your house. To everything.
Yeah, no, that's they're ventilated as shit in a fast food place, and you're still cleaning every night. So I believe that. Get off, please. Okay. I'm being told to get off, please. So I suppose it is time to go. Thank you for joining us and sharing your chip knowledge.
Happy Valentine's Day!
Happy Valentine's Day, or after, since you're Australian, and I think you're the only one in there right now. I mean, I can look. It says two, but I think one of them is literally me. Oh no, there's other people. There's Bird and Solar lurking. I don't know what it's doing. I don't know what it's doing. It says two, but it lists four. Whatever. I think they're sleeping. They're probably lurking to support, and I appreciate that. And next time, yeah, I'm thinking I might make a grave house. I don't know what our stone situation is. I'll have to look. I'll have to examine what's up.
I have some ideas on things to build. That's what's exciting me the most right now. We are kind of preparing for the bosses. The mechanical bosses are our next progression point. But I think I would like to build a house in the graveyard or build something in the snow, or maybe both. Vegetable oils down mixed with detergent is probably okay. Liquid at room temperature, yeah. Meat oils are bad. Yeah, those clog. If the oils from the meat leak out, that might cause kind of a mix, and you still get kind of a fatberg situation. Whatever. Regardless, it's time to go bye-bye. Wifey needs me. So I will see y'all next time. I think tomorrow is animation. It's Sunday tomorrow, right? Yeah. So that's going to be working on the animation. I would really love to get this bit done. I thought I'd be there 3 weeks ago. Ugh. Okay. And I will see you all on Pixel in that case. If I stream it. I haven't the last couple times. Been watching my silly things. I haven't done art stream all week. I did the Valentine's thing, so I am. Whatever. We'll see what happens. I'll keep people posted. And at some point, we will revisit Cult of the Lamb, because that was pretty fun, and I wouldn't mind doing a little more of that on here. And I guess I should get back to Star Ocean soon. Ugh, okay, I'm only wearing Miracle's clothes. Bye! Ooh, a star.